loving marriage is a myth. What many men mistake for happiness is in fact resignation. The foundation of marriage is rooted in gynocentrism, meaning it has always favored women, not men. A quote from a well-known red pill manosphere writer goes, "Men are the marital partners responsible for a family's emotional intimacy, for adapting their sexual desires to their wives. To be happy in a relationship which imposes so many impediments on him, as traditional marriage does, a man must be slightly mentally ill." The website Red Pill Sphere, for example, proclaims that, quote, "monogamy is a concept that has been shoved down our throats as the only relationship model that works." A writer explaining his position on Time magazine urged that if mothers were beneficial to children's welfare, then men should then wed 2, 3, many wives. If men are to effect a significant improvement in their condition, it seems obvious that they must refuse to marry. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that this is not my usual place, that I have moved. You know why? You know what my life updates are, and perhaps you might be surprised to be hearing me saying what I said on the intro, but we'll get to the rest in a second. Please subscribe. Please leave your comment below. I'm trying to make this a little bit more of a regular thing, so if you could help me out there. And yeah, the home that I've moved into is still not fully decorated. The walls are completely bare, but it is what it is. We're kind of figuring things out at the moment. All right. So without much further ado, let's get into it. If you haven't noticed by now, none of these quotes are directly from the manosphere or the red pill, although I have certainly heard the same sentiments. They are all from hardcore feminists. Just change the words men to women, husbands to wives, and vice versa.
We might say the family is no longer patriarchal. Please. Of course it is. Of course. We understand we have 2 women a week killed by their partner. Were they married or unmarried? Who cares? Basically, the system is the same. The system is a hammer and anvil system, and women are caught up in that system.
It is Germaine Greer who said, "If women are to effect a significant amelioration in their condition, it seems obvious that they must refuse to marry." I found this quote quite interesting because I've heard the same sentiment from the red pill space, from that popular red pill space, although we know is not a cohesive ideology or waves of thinking. But we kind of have an idea of what is coming out predominantly from that space nowadays. The feeling or the thought is that in order to improve marriage and the situation that men find themselves in, they must not get married until laws change. However, I have not seen men, or these men specifically, try to propose an actual solution or try to lobby for real change. That's the men's movement, okay? But I consider those things separate to the online alpha bros. The real quote from the intro, Germaine Greer, when speaking to an Australian reporter, said that she believes a loving relationship, a loving marriage is a myth, and what many women mistake for happiness is in fact resignation. Stephanie Kuntz, feminist and author of Marriage: A History, states that though marriage is evolving, the foundation is still rooted in patriarchy, an oppressive ideal that no amount of feminist correction by its participants can fix, meaning that it favors men, not women. The quote that I mentioned was from a red pill manosphere writer, is actually from a, quote, team of researchers that was published in a feminist website called The Swaddle. And they found that women are the marital partners responsible for a family's emotional intimacy, for adapting their sexual desires to their husbands. It's weird because on the red pill manosphere side, right, they say that it is the men who are suppressing their desires for women. Who's right? researchers from the leftist side, or the alpha bros, or perhaps they're both right and they should just both agree. To be happy in a relationship which imposes so many impediments on her as traditional marriage does, a woman must be slightly mentally ill. That's a quote from 1972 from the feminist Jessie Bernard, who regarded marriage as hopelessly exploitative to women. So I guess I must be slightly mentally ill. And by the way, there's no website called Red Pill Sphere, at least not one that I'm aware of. But the quote against monogamy is not totally off base when it comes to what a lot of men who say they're red pill openly talk about. That men who appear not to be cheating on their partners are actually cheating and just good at not getting caught, are not able to cheat. Basically, men in general are unable to control themselves and have agency when it comes to that kind of desire. That men overall are like animals, and to say otherwise, you are fooling yourself.
One more question.
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought something was
You're a man
wrong
of
with me.
self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's just not how I am. It's not how I am.
You think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two-shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm going to live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here the same man.
I don't know about you, but I think this is a bad picture for men. Yes, they are in fact capable of not emotionally hurting their wives by being with other women. They are capable of this.
I'm gonna live in truth. Here's the difference between me and most men. Most men are doing this shit behind people's back, right? Like a fucking coward. And they're not even giving the family the life that they deserve. So if I choose to do that in the future, which I have not said I'm gonna do, then so be it. But if I don't, I don't.
I just don't like the argument that like
because it doesn't feel good to you.
No, it's not that it doesn't feel good. It's that you'll believe what you believe regardless of any evidence to the contrary. So if the evidence says that 1 out of 4 men cheat, you'll say, oh, they all cheat.
I would argue.
And it's like, if I say, no, my dad doesn't cheat, he doesn't do that, you say, well, he probably has an arrangement with your mom behind the scenes. Because that's your
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a chance.
You just implied that, which is fine. Like, I understand that's your worldview. But I just grew up around, like, I would say like the men of value versus high value men, which is just like the type of men that kind of get their money, get their woman, go buy a piece of land and don't want to talk to anybody. And it's just a very different like world than the like one that you guys live in. And that's partially what brought me into the red pill, because I was like, this is what you think high value men are like.
Okay. I want to pause here for a moment. This is the Pearl that I used to like. If you have seen some of my other videos on my channel, you know that I made a video about Pearl previously where I very much criticized her, and I'm not the only one that has done this. I know it's not an original thing to do, but I have seen Pearl kind of go into this route of fully just pandering to men and what they think without injecting any thoughts and opinion of her own and her own experience. The thing that she is doing now, and I really applaud, and this is a moment that I can fully agree with Pearl. I saw the own men in my family be faithful to their wives. And again, it's one of those things that even if I say that this is the case, and even if they say that this is the case, because these are conversations that I've had with my dad as well. The red pill will say they're lying, and it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because, as she says, they'll believe what they'll believe regardless of any evidence to the contrary. So I just wanted to pause here a moment and give props to Pearl for what she's doing.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm arguing.
Yeah.
Because you're putting certain life choices with value as a person. And I'm simply saying what created value in his time and certainly in your life, because obviously you've turned out very, very well. Him being valuable in that time and him having that good impact on you is incredible. I'm just simply arguing that a man that in 2022 that tells the truth, takes care of his business, takes care of his family, shows up for his wife in the most important ways, providing, truly loving her, making sure that her life is a fucking carpet ride, and then loving the fuck out of it and supporting and doing the right thing that a man should do, because a man does have the burden of performance. And I put that burden of performance right there in the loyalty spot, in the turning up for your family. That is a good man. Not whether you had sex with another woman or whatever. It's the deceit that hurts so badly.
A certain degree of adultery has been accepted in old notions of marriage, like the Italian idea of a wife having a cavaliere servente, if she was younger than her husband, or the idea of the husband having peccadillos and sexual relationships with women who would do things that his wife would consider beneath her, and all this kind of hypocrisy, which has not been inseparable from the idea of marriage.
Infidelity wouldn't shake your relationship with your husband or the man you loved.
No.
His having peccadillos.
Would it be yours? Would you throw Joyce out?
I refuse to discuss.
Well, don't make it personal, Lane. Would you throw another wife out that you were married to? I'm sorry.
I would be damn angry.
Yeah. But I mean, what's the...
But would you be angry about
breach.
being deceived, or angry that someone else had enjoyed your wife's body?
I would find infidelity on the part of my mate insupportable.
Well, you see, I would regard the infidelity as being the lie or the attempt to make a fool of me. I mean, that very often happens in relationships.
This is such a lie. And notice they're both saying the same thing. The second wave sexual revolution feminist and Justin Waller and many others in the red pill space. That it is the lie about infidelity, not the act itself. But do we really believe this? If we agree with our partner, we're not going to go and get coffee with someone else or get coffee with a member of the other gender during our marriage. And someone does it. Will it hurt the same as if someone is intimate with someone else? Would it? I mean, you see this in polyamory forums all the time. Despite the fact that these people are aware that this is happening, it doesn't negate the fact that they have visceral reactions to it. They have a hard time dealing with the jealousy and anger that their partner being with someone else inspires. So let's just remove the idea that this is a neutral thing and that just the lie is the problem, not the act itself. Cheating is not a simple handshake. It's a deep betrayal of trust that they know can hurt the woman they're with. They know cheating can result in mistakes like STDs and unwanted pregnancies. And often they do. I mean, just watch the John Maloney show and you'll hear about some real train wrecks like this. The quote about monogamy is from a feminist website called Feministing or Feministing, whatever. So believe it or not, both sides, they argue for very similar things. Apparently, during the 1980s, there was a disturbing campaign to restore the nuclear family hegemony, as described with such terms by feminist writer Judith Stacy. She said that if two parents are generally better than one, 3 or 4 might prove better yet. Time Magazine's Barbara Ehrenreich, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, urged that if fathers were beneficial to children's welfare, women should wed 2, 3, many husbands. This all sounds strangely familiar after watching YouTube videos from the Whatever podcast, Fresh and Fit, Just Pearly Things, Now Pearl, The Rational Male. And yes, there are others, but these I would say are the worst offenders. Second wave feminists believe that women were hoodwinked. Yes, hoodwinked. For centuries into wanting marriage and children. The second wavers are the same ones that encourage the proliferation of hookup culture. You know, the culture, the manosphere, red pills, podcast space, the alpha bros have been saying that has destroyed women. But simultaneously, they love participating in that culture, don't they? You see, these guys like to complain on the internet about OnlyFans girls. They like to complain about a certain type of woman, but extrapolate that complaint to all women. Because that is the only woman they see and perhaps want. They want her, but they hate her. They talk about how hookup culture is destroying society, and to that point, I can agree. Maybe to an extent. There are many other factors, which is what had me on the side of these guys for a little bit. But yet, they propose no solution, and in fact encourage their audience to participate in that culture. Red pillars embrace the thing that ruined marriages in the first place. They willingly and proudly participate in the problem and refuse to be part of the solution. The red pill often seems to be about self-worship, degenerate behavior. Just watch some of these people and what they promote. Is it manly behavior to complain about an issue, then still participate in said issue because there are short-term benefits, and refuse to be part of the solution? Why? Because someone else will do it. Is it women that need to change the culture and men have no participation in this at all? Let's face it, the manosphere red pill popular side of the discourse is not that much different from the liberal feminists. At least not in the result. I do think that these people are a result of the radical discussion which surrounded men, how they were to blame, how we are under a patriarchy and women are oppressed, etc., etc., etc. But I've heard similar takes from red pill creators, like we're under a gynocentric society, etc., etc., etc. Do people really believe this? That's the question. They will say on one side that women's real desires and real fulfillment are to be a mother and wife and to bring life into this world, and that it would be the ultimate feminine fulfillment, and that women are actually not happy with the whole independent woman thing and hustle culture. But simultaneously, they will say that we are in a gynocentric social order which caters to the desires of women, which have been proven time and time again. Generally speaking, when it comes to relationships, women want long-term commitment. But this is not what most women are getting, are they? This is what is most difficult to get in today's dating culture. So is it really catering to women's desires? Is that really what these guys believe? Is the end result that of a gynocentric society is that women are happier then? That current society is conducive more to female happiness? Or can we perhaps be a little bit less polarizing and find a middle ground? No, it's not men against women. I will say this to the liberal feminists and the red pillars like Rolo. It is not men against women. There are things in society which benefit women and not men. I'm not denying that at all, but this goes both ways. It's just that men seem to rarely understand the issues that women go through. But it's honestly the same for women. They don't understand the issues that men go through. We don't hear each other. We're talking past each other, trying to villainize an entire group of people, trying to villainize 50% of the population. We don't hear each other. We're too busy comparing who has it worse. Often, men in the red pill will talk about how easy it is for women to get intimate with men. Only they use, more vulgar phrases to describe it, but really fail to grasp that most women do not care for this type of behavior. We do not care for it. You're extrapolating your desires onto us. Just because the offer is on the table does not mean we want to take it. My conspiracy brain, though, you know me, my conspiracy brain often thinks that both movements are psyops to separate men and women and therefore cripple the foundation of society, which is families. There have been many studies to prove that marriage is indeed good for both men and women. Not to mention children. Children really benefit from marriage and family. And a stable one, not one promoted by the likes of Jason Waller, who thinks it's okay to have multiple wives and just throw money at children with different mothers.
Justin has
I
enemies.
might have multiple family. Oh. You never know. I might like family more than you. So much I have 5.
Do you think that's a good thing to have multiple families?
I think it's good if there's one dad and there's not a bunch of step parents involved, and the dad can be the hero, and those 5 families live a 10x better life than they would have otherwise. Yes, ma'am, I do.
In many ways, it is them who devalue the role of the father and whittle it down to a mere paycheck. Do they realize this? A society with strong families and strong family values is a strong society. And we can talk about divorce all we want. I actually made a video about the myth of the 50% divorce rate. But regardless, I will agree that there are many people getting married for the wrong reasons who ruin it for the rest of us. Although your personal chance of getting married and divorced is your personal chance. It's not society's. The obesity rate in the United States is 40%. That does not mean that you have a 40% chance of being obese. These two movements, or whatever you want to call them, they're both a problem. They are both corrosive to society. And they both have their good points. They both have reasons for existence which have some good and reasonable people attaching themselves to them. But the overall message and their overall results, burn it to the ground. We need something different. Cheers, guys. Subscribe. I'll talk to you later.